And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Deeper Dive. It is Wednesday, January 31st. I am Josh Engleman. I'm joined by Matt Belman. We're brought to you by Sleeper. We have Liverpool up 4-1, and we've got 9 NBA games ahead of us tonight with a little bit of news that's popped up that makes this day a little bit more interesting. Hit that like button if you haven't done it yet. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. You got to make sure you hit that like button. If you don't, this whole screen will go black at 6 o'clock and you will not get NBA Live Before Lock, which will be coming up next. What's going on, man? How's it going?
It's going pretty well. Excited to talk this slate out with you. Another wild one with injury news. Yeah. Before we get to it, I wanted to get your take on the Embiid situation, and the whole 65 games thing. The players blaming the owners and stuff. Do you have any takes on it? I do. I want to hear yours, though.
I hate it. It's, to me, one of the dumber things that could exist. Just use your discretion and figure it out. I don't mind it so much for the MVP because I think you probably just want your MVP to play like 77, 78 games. Like there's an amount of value where it starts to matter. I care a lot about all NBA having this structure because that actually affects salaries in a big way. And I don't believe that there should be any tie to how much you can offer a player based on that. Like as an econ guy, I don't like an artificial restraint on some people's salaries. It's kind of an annoyance to me. I don't mind it in terms of like handing out the MVP. I hate that it could like cost Tyrese Halliburton $45 million.
I completely agree with that. I will say, though, I also think that this is the players doing from the past 10 years and stuff. So they have no one to blame but themselves. I do agree, though. Like 65 games is such an arbitrary number. And I honestly think players, like the salaries, depending on all NBA status, even before the 65 game stuff, I didn't like it just because of, you've got biased voters. It's just not, I don't think that salary structure should have anything to do with that. And I'm with you. I think that I'm with you in the sense that like, just use some common sense and discretion and, make common sense decisions. I'm with that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's clearly not going to help anything. This new rule is not going to like make people play more. That's just not a thing.
Well,
and it's
that's what they're talking about.
Situations like this where Embiid is more hurt now just by like trying to be out there.
When you say that they're not going to make people play more, what do you mean by that? Because I actually think like you've seen like last night, Embiid probably shouldn't have played. I don't know that that's exactly why, but explain what you mean.
What I mean is like it shouldn't make people like he shouldn't have to think I need to play today to hit a threshold. Like that is
crazy.
Not the way that we want people. That's not at all what anybody wants. That's not going to help anybody do anything. That's what I mean. Like I don't want it. Maybe it means like you're gonna gut out some like non-problematic injuries, but for stuff like this where like rest is clearly the best thing for you, I hate it. I hate it so much.
Couldn't agree more.
We got a hell of a slate ahead of us today. You ready to break some of this down?
That we do. Should be a fun one.
Yeah, I'm like I like it and I don't like it. It's obviously kind of gross with like the Dallas side is not any part of a slate that I ever want. It's not fun to have that kind of stuff happen where, basically the starting 5 is out, but we're here to break it all down. And we're going to do that right now. Chicago Bulls, 5.5 point favorites in Charlotte, 215 total. Big ownership coming into 2 of these players, Ayo Dosunmu and Nikola Vucevic, right around 20% for both. We're in single digits for everyone else. As I look at it, I have no real issues with those guys pulling the ownership. They do seem like the guys that should be getting it. They are the 2 guys that have optimal rates north of 10% in our boom bust tool. What do you see from Chicago in a really nice matchup against Charlotte?
It is a nice matchup, but we've got teams that are just missing guys also in good matchups. I don't think anything for me personally is a priority here. Like I understand the Vucevic ownership, but he's coming in overowned. I think he's overowned. The tools say he's overowned. Like easy spot for me to get different is Vooch there. Big men do crush Charlotte. So like I understand why he's getting love. He's projected for 41.75 fantasy points at 7,500. He looks good. Not a must play. And then Ayo, I like playing well right now. Hasn't been priced for like his current play if you're buying what he's selling in that regard.
Yeah.
I just, I don't know if you need it here, like on this slate. He's certainly playable, and I get it, but I don't know if like you just if you definitely don't have to play him. He's
No,
certainly a
not
fine
that kind of
play
guy.
and definitely not that kind of guy. And even though he is getting ownership, he's the same price as Jaden Hardy, getting a lot less ownership there. So in some senses, he is a contrarian pivot if you want him to be.
Right now, let me pull it up because I'm just finishing off my run of everything. I want to see if I can just look and see. Yeah, like I basically don't have these guys. I have 4% of Io DeSumo. I think it's really easy. Like I like Vooch today, but I do think it's really easy to get away from him. We have more than enough centers out there where I don't feel bad. Like I can get plenty of different ways to get, or plenty of ways to get different for a 20% owned guy at center. So while I wouldn't mind getting any pieces of their main dudes, I don't really have them right now.
And also the other thing about Vooch is you only really have one center spot to play with because of DeAndre Jordan, who, at least for me, is a must play at 4K. The ownership's not as high as I expected with him, so other centers' ownership are a little bit higher than I expect to be actually when the slate happens, but
Yeah.
we'll see on that. I actually think the more I'm looking at it, Io is a contrarian pivot off Hardy. Now, he's getting 20% ownership, so he's not like low owned, but their optimal percentages are similar. Hardy
Yeah.
slightly higher, couple percentage points higher to be optimal, getting 3.5 times the ownership. Like, give me AO there or IO.
Ew. The Charlotte side is the Charlotte side. By the way, for Chicago, Torrey Craig was announced out earlier. I didn't even know that that was going to be up for debate today. When I saw it go by, I was like, did he get traded? I was hoping they would sign Tony Snell so he can get insurance for his kids. Did you see that story today?
I did. I definitely did. And then I saw someone comment like he's made 54 million like throughout his NBA career. He should be fine.
Which is also a true statement. But at the same time, like it would be really nice to just,
I agree.
get the insurance.
I feel like that story coming out greatly increases the chances of some team signing him.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's got 2 days. I don't know if I didn't read into it. I don't know if a 10-day counts. Anybody can sign him for it. Like, there's certainly teams with a roster spot open and a 10-day available that should be able to like pick that up. He's got to have relationships around the league somewhere, unless maybe there's a reason he's not on a roster and can't get that insurance. Maybe he's a giant asshole.
Yeah, or maybe the reason he stayed in the league so long was because of those relationships. Like he sucks. So,
Also true. What do you want to do here on the Charlotte side, where we're seeing basically ownership to their starting five a little bit and then nothing else? Call it 10-ish% ownership to Brandon Miller, Cody Martin, Miles Bridges, Nick Richards, and PJ Washington. Anything standing out to you for Charlotte?
They all look good. No one looks like a building block for me here. Just other really good spots. My favorite is probably Bridges by a good amount. Ball in his hands a ton right now with LaMelo out. Obviously, no Rozier. Gordon Hayward's out. So Charlotte sucks, but Bridges is going to have the ball in his hands a lot. He's going to play a ton of minutes if this game's competitive. Projects for 45 fantasy points at 8,200. I'll take that, coming in a little bit under-owned. Nick Richards looks similarly good. 15% chance being optimal. Like, give me Nick. I'd rather play Nick Richards than Vucevic. They're back-to-back in the boom bust tool. Richards is actually slightly higher. Completely different price points, but give me Richards and an upgrade somewhere else over Vooch.
I have 30% Nick Richards right now, so we seem to be looking at this one in a similar way. I think Cody Martin is really difficult. Yeah. I don't want to say difficult to get away from because that's not really how I mean it here, but a $4,400 small forward that's basically starting at point guard and going to play around 30 minutes. That value for his position is really interesting, and he's showing up a lot for me. I see him as like a connector piece for today's slate, so I'm a little bit over on Cody Martin. And then I've got a pretty big stand on PJ Washington at this moment. I might need to take a minute away from him. It's possible that I just have him a little bit too lofty. We have him 15% owned, 15% optimal. So he's like dead neutral. He's in close to half of my lineups right now. That might be a bit too aggressive, but I don't think they're like clamoring to play more Leaky Black and Nathan Mensah. Like, I think he's just set up to play a ton of minutes. I think the matchup's pretty interesting for him. It's a bad matchup in that Chicago plays really slow, but at the same time, like somebody's got to do something for Charlotte with no LaMelo Ball and no Terry Rozier and no Gordon Hayward. And I think PJ Washington is just as likely as anybody else. So I seem to be taking a bit of a stand on Charlotte today, which I don't love, but at least I don't have to watch it. At least I'll be blacked out to this game.
I would say PJ Washington is as just as good as chance as anyone besides Miles Bridges. Like in any given game, sure, Washington could outscore him, but the price difference is real there for a reason. I'm with you though, especially now with the current rotation of Charlotte. There is a lot of meat down the bone at 5,800 for PJ Washington. So
Yeah.
I like that call a lot.
So yeah, I'm getting Charlotte probably my most exposed team like over the field. Like this seems to be the stand that I'm taking today. Nothing better than hitching your wagon to Charlotte missing most of their best players.
Well, the thing there is though, it's easy to get over the field on these guys. So you might not have, I know you have good exposure to Washington and Richards, but it's not like all your lineups have Charlotte guys. You're just over the
And I
field.
expect to have less of Washington. I don't expect to have 50 when I get in there. Like if I get to 35, I'm just as happy. And that's not really changing anything for my day.
Sure.
Interesting game. There's a lot of not interesting games. Here's one of them. The Detroit Pistons are 12.5-point underdogs in Cleveland. We have a 231 total here. Cade is probable. Beef stew is out. 1% ownership is the highest mark that we have to anybody on the DraftKings side for the Pistons. 2.5% optimal to Jalen Duren is the highest optimal rate we have. Am I missing anything? Are you seeing anything that you want to get from Detroit here?
No. Back in the day, I can't remember what they were called. I haven't used this term in a while. There'd be games on slates that you just completely skip. And there was a term for those games. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but this game seems to fit that billing. Like Detroit, no. Cleveland's in a better spot than Detroit, and we'll see about Jared Allen. But this entire game is not even secondary pieces, like third, fourth options on a slate with a lot of really good plays. So in Detroit, nothing for me.
Okay. We are on the same page there. Oh, there's the text from my dad. Liverpool match is over. He is quite happy. I am also quite happy. Good day. Bridges available to play. LaMelo Ball out. So there's a little bit of Charlotte news for us too. We'll go to the Cleveland side, which is pretty much equally as unappealing, except for Cleveland has Donovan Mitchell, who's pulling 9% ownership, about 10% optimal. We are waiting on the news of Jared Allen. He got ruled questionable earlier today. Garland is questionable. He's coming back from his broken jaw. Anything here for your boys?
I don't think so. Is Allen in now? Did that news come out?
Just still questionable. We don't know.
So I think that's the only talking point. Like if he's out, is Damian Jones in play? Like Mobley's not really because he's not going to play more than 23 minutes probably, but
no.
Is anyone here become more of an option if Allen's out?
Let's see. Jones is 3,100. Let's think about him for a second, because I think it's a worthwhile endeavor. Let's say we get 22 minutes out of Damian Jones. He's a 0.85 fantasy point per minute guy. Let's call it 19 fantasy points if we want to be aggressive. At 3,100, that's 6.1x his salary. For Denver, spoiler alert, DeAndre Jordan is 4K. He's 6.4x. You're probably going to get, 15-ish%. Like if you knew this at 6:30, if we could actually have the time to build this out, which, I assume we would since this is a 7:00 start. Ben Simmons ruled out. I figure he's probably in 15-ish% of lineups. He becomes something. Even if he is coming off the bench, I don't think they have any other options.
I think that's all it is. He becomes something, not a priority, not any sort of building block, especially with DeAndre Jordan there. He becomes appealing to play with Jordan or as a pivot because Jordan will be a lot higher owned.
Yeah.
But it's still a fringe play at best, unless we found out he was starting at center.
Yeah. You'd feel a lot better about it because they're going to have to fill 48 minutes somehow. Maybe they don't care. You can get 24, 25, 26 out of Mobley today. So you're looking for somewhere in that same range in terms of the other minutes. So he can play 16 and they can go small, go Dean Wade or something at the 5 for a couple possessions against, it's the Pistons, how hard could it be?
Yeah, I was thinking even Niang.
Yeah, either way.
especially if this game is like in hand. So
Yeah.
I'm with you.
I got nothing else here for Cleveland.
Same.
All right. Schedule for the rest of the day. Very simple. As long as you guys hit the like button on this video, NBA Live Before Lock will be coming up next. They will take you all the way up until 7 p.m. And I've got two things for you. One, I want you guys to use the avatar. Stokastic.com/avatar. Grab the logo, put it on DraftKings, FanDuel, Owner's Box, Yahoo, whichever one you're playing at. If you finish in the top 3 of a contest with 5,000 or more entries, you can have 1 month, whichever package you want. That isn't all access. So if you want the NBA package, that's going to be projections, ownership, boom bust, Discord, lineup generator, contest generator, Sims tool, all of it on the NBA side. That's the thing you should do, because all you have to do is tweet your result at Stokastic HOF. That's going to get you in the Stokastic Hall of Fame. Show us your lineup. Show us the contest you were in. You do that, we want to show the world how you did. We want to give you a little bit of a bonus for it. The other thing that I want to let you know about, Jordan, you have that Instagram graphic? Got a little bit of an Instagram giveaway going on today. Free week of the NBA lineup generator. All you have to do, head on over to our Instagram account. That's at Stokastic_com. Need you to like this comment and respond with an answer to the question, how many points will Devin Booker score tonight? First person to guess it correctly wins 1 free week of our NBA lineup generator. This is going to cost you nothing. All you got to do is guess Devin Booker's points. Make sure when you get there, you're guessing something unique. If you see one before it, you might have to go all the way up into like the 50s or something like that and pray that he goes crazy. You got to be first. But head on over to our Instagram. Again, at Stokastic_com. We need you to like and comment how many points will Devin Booker score tonight. Neil Williamson, I appreciate you letting us know in this chat. That is not the spot. LA Clippers, 11-point favorites in Washington, 236 total. Not a lot going on here for the Clippers side. Now, we do have the news that Paul George is questionable for tonight. We already have 25% ownership coming into Kawhi Leonard and 10 to James Harden. Doesn't seem like we're getting to anything else if George is in. So let's just start there. How do you feel about Kawhi?
Like him a lot. I mean, to be completely honest, like what's not to like, you know? The only thing not to like is if you're allocating salary for Kawhi, you're not playing other guys that look good, but you could make a case that Kawhi looks as good as basically anyone else on the slate at his price point in this matchup. If Paul George is in, I think that Kawhi looks like a solid cog in the machine type. I think that Harden also looks good. Easier to get to Kawhi at a cheaper price point with better positionality, but yeah. I like both of them. I think the question comes in if Paul George misses. So
if Paul George misses, who stands out most to you?
Probably
ignoring Kawhi at this point.
Okay. Maybe Westbrook. It is Westbrook, but I'm not sure how actionable that is for DFS. Yeah, you could say like Norm Powell, you know.
Amir Coffey, 3,400.
Yeah. I mean, especially if he gets the start.
He's not so bad.
He's so bad. Like he's bad. I'm not excited about that one. Man, if Westbrook could get any sort of real minutes, like talk about GPP upside, it's just really hard to ever see that or know when that's going to come. I think it really just makes Kawhi and Harden look better as far as what the DFS slate looks like.
I think you need Harden out to get like a real boost to Westbrook.
I agree.
I don't think you take Paul George off the floor and I don't think it makes the team better to play Russell Westbrook more in that scenario. If that's a Terrence Mann, a Norm Powell, and Amir Coffey, you're just fitting it in and you're getting more of Harden and Kawhi, I think.
I agree with that. I will say, though, like this is definitely a game that the Clippers should win easily. So, does Westbrook play more in that situation? Like, if it's a crazy blowout, no. But if it's like, I mean, we saw this in Toronto, actually, like last week before they played Boston. They played Boston the next night. They were up like 15 in the fourth quarter, 12, 15. Kawhi never came back in. It was Westbrook's best game in a while. Like, those games will happen. Tonight is a night where if I were multi-entering, I would want a little Westbrook exposure, but playing minimal lineups, almost impossible to get there. I mean, he becomes a guy if Paul George is out, but I agree with you. To really like him, Harden needs to be out.
Yeah, I think you're going to look at Coffey and Norm Powell Coffee, Norm Powell, and Terrence Mann are like the guys that soak up the most in terms of playing time, I think. And then obviously you're giving a bit of a bump in usage to James Harden for sure. Probably a little bit of a bump to Kawhi Leonard as well. 20 to 24 minute limit if Darius Garland plays. Doesn't matter.
No.
Speaking of things that don't matter, the Washington Wizards on the opposite side of this Clippers game. Highest owned dude is 3% owned Kyle Kuzma. Highest optimal rate is 3.5% Kyle Kuzma. I have two lineups with Jordan Poole in it, but I don't have anything else here.
The only good thing I can say about Washington is that they look slightly better than Detroit. That's it.
If we look at the ownership, Washington is at 11% total, just tripling up the 3% aggregate ownership for the Detroit Pistons.
Yeah, so that's all I can say nice about them. They look bad because it's not even like there's other spots that look so good. I think you're making a mistake, playing Washington here personally. Anything can happen, of course. It's one night in DFS, but not for me.
Couldn't agree more. Sacramento Kings, 2-point dogs in Miami, 229 total. This is another team not pulling any ownership. It's 3% ownership to Kevin Huerter. It's basically 4 in optimal rate for him and Fox. I don't have a single share of anybody from Sacramento, but I do look at them differently than I look at like Washington or Detroit, because obviously anytime De'Aaron Fox or Domantas Sabonis end up in a lineup of yours, you're not looking at it like, that's a wart.
No, especially if you've got like an all really chalky lineup. Like anytime you get those type of guys, I'm fine with it. Sacramento just has better players than the Washingtons and Detroits of the world. Side note, so Miami has lost like 7 or 8 in a row, I believe. They are teetering quick. Jimmy Butler trade rumors are coming. I've already seen like Knicks and Jimmy Butler. I think that would be a really good fit, like for right now, just because, and this is assuming they're doing picks and tertiary pieces, but I really like that fit. What's your take?
So him and Randall out there at the same time. Like, if they could get rid of Randall and do that, I'd be more interested. And just play like a more natural stretch 4. I don't expect that to happen. The trade in just in general.
Well, Miami made the finals as an 8 seed. They're not trading off.
No, not at all. I think what Miami would want for him is not what I don't think that New York should short themselves now. They've got the assets to do it. I don't think you want to give those up for Butler now with 4 years, whatever, $50 million a year, whatever he's got left on his deal. He would I don't even know what team I think would be an interesting spot for him to land. Like, who's missing like a crunch time ball guy? Like, he'd be really interesting if you didn't feel like you were stunting Anthony Edwards and you sent him back to Minnesota, but obviously that's not happening.
Yeah, that will never happen.
Like Orlando would be interesting, but like they're not going to win, so it's too far down the list. Like if you're just looking at those top teams, it's really like Philly, I guess, which wouldn't happen. Other than that, I wouldn't really see it. I don't think the Knicks would want to do it.
Yeah, considering
not for what Miami would want.
Yeah, I agree with that.
He's 34 now.
I also don't think Miami would deal him to the Knicks unless it was a package that they like could not turn down.
And the Knicks don't have like the guy that can go back in that deal. Jimmy Butler, by the way,
you know where he'd look good?
49 million next year and 52 the year after that.
I think he'd look good in this spot just because they need a talent upgrade, especially on the wings.
Yeah.
Dallas.
Yeah. They could never get it done, but yes.
Never.
They'd have no ability to do that. Bryce McGowens will start for the Hornets. Sure. Let's talk about that Miami team since there's nothing else to say for the Sacramento team. Not a lot of ownership coming in here. Around 10% to Tyler Hero. Around 10% to Jimmy Butler. Around 10% to Bam Adebayo. There's one guy I'm getting here. That's the man we were just talking about. I got about 20% of Butler at 7,200. I kind of like it against Sacramento with them on a bit of a free fall. Maybe he looks to stem the bleeding here.
He has recently. He's got like back-to-back 45 pluses, as far as DraftKings points go. Falling price tag. I don't understand why our tools aren't higher on him. I mean, listen, all this stuff is marginal. So a minute here, a couple fantasy points here, so you have to take projections, with a grain of salt in that regard. I personally really like Butler here. Too cheap, good matchup. I also like Hero. Also too cheap. Our tools like Hero more.
Yeah.
He's coming in with nice leverage. We talked about him recently. Yeah, all these guys are going to take a hit with Rozier there now, but the price tags are accounting for it. So I think Miami is definitely in play for me here. They're not getting ownership. I like all of them. I think that the two I'm most likely to get to are Hero and Butler. Bam is a lot harder to get to, but really like him as a contrarian option if you can get there.
I have both of those guys right at the field. 8% of Bam, 8% ownership. 10% of Hero, 10% ownership. But I am taking that little stand on Butler for right now. Very happy to do so. In that 1.15 fantasy point per minute range. Sacramento 17th in defensive rating, 11th in pace. Nothing wrong with that matchup at all. So I think it's a pretty good spot for Butler to get something done. I don't have anything else here for Miami.
Same.
Which means it is now time to talk about Sleeper. They are the sponsor of this show. They've got a $500 first match deposit bonus. They also want you to hit the like button because they want you to hear everything that has to be said on NBA Live Before Lock. If you don't hit that button, you don't get that show. You can get 100x payouts at Sleeper because they have dynamic payouts on the props. So instead of just having even action on both sides, you can get a multiplier of like 1.5x or 2x. You start stacking those up. That is how you can get all the way up to a 100x payout. Now, they have all of your standard sports. My recommendation is to get into these spots, whatever pick'em site you're looking for. It's just like sports betting. You should want to have a couple different options. You want to be able to play the best plays that you can find. And maybe one day that's Sleeper. And that's where you're focusing that new deposit bonus money. You could use OddsShopper to get some additional plays if you want. Free squares, when they pop up, you should be using them. That will bring your costs down, the costs associated with playing at the site. Free squares will save you for that one. That's just going to make it a little bit easier to keep that money in your account. All you have to do is click the link in the description or the one in the chat and sign up at Sleeper now. And Paul George out.
Milk.
At least we got it early.
Yeah.
Wow. The Hornets have not won a game this year by more than 8 points.
I mean, how many games have the Hornets won this year?
Not so many, but apparently they squeaked them all out.
That's not surprising.
All righty. New Orleans Pelicans, 2-point favorites in Houston, 232 total. Add New Orleans to the list of teams that just really aren't pulling a ton of ownership. They do have some positive leverage, though. But Zion, BI, CJ, seems like they're the only three guys that you could really talk about. There is the caveat that we may get Herb Jones out. But what we really need to wait on is whether or not we get Zion out, who is now questionable today. If we get Zion out, that is a big bump to Brandon Ingram, to CJ McCollum. If we get Herb Jones out with him, we start to look at a $4,600 Trey Murphy in a very different light. We start to look at someone else, Dyson Daniels, perhaps. Someone else pops. How are you looking at the Pelicans right now if everybody's in? And then what do you want to get to if we lose Zion?
If everyone's in, not a lot, not a great spot against Houston. I think price tags are fair, so I don't mind the good guys, Ingram, Zion, specifically. Ingram is always going to be my favorite. I don't think that's any different tonight. There's a ton of good, small forward, power forwards in between 7K and 8,500. Throw Ingram in that bucket. I like him here. We'll certainly like him more if Zion's out. I don't know if the ownership will get there either, just because there's a lot of good plays early on this slate, and the slate is condensed in that all the games start within an hour and a half of each other. So I wouldn't mind just playing Ingram and hoping Zion's out. Zion seems to miss every time he's questionable. That's not based on any fact, just like me remembering, so I could be totally off, but seems like every time he's questionable, he's out. So I would just like them even more. And then if Herb Jones is out, Yeah, secondary pieces from New Orleans look good. I wish they were in a better spot. Then I'd want to prioritize them more. It's tough with Dallas and, we talked about Chicago and the Clippers now look better, but I think New Orleans will look really good if Zion ends up out, and then Herb Jones being out would only make them look better.
Amir Coffey starting in place of Paul George, as we expected.
It's such a good spot too. Like this is one where like I never want to play Amir Coffey. I don't care if he's like negative salary, but against Washington at 3,400, at least like firmly in play.
Becomes a really nice heavy chalk ownership pivot because he won't get all the way up to like the Dallas guys and stuff. So it'll be interesting to see where he ultimately lands.
And he's cheaper than them, which I like. Yep.
Yeah, keep your eye on Brandon Ingram and CJ. I mean, they'd be the guys that I'd be really happy to get to early on the, and then, if you got to swap, you got to swap. If you keep them, you keep them. That's all fine. But they would be the obvious benefits here. But we need that news. And if you get them both out, that's where it really starts to look a lot better for the Pels. Then we head to Houston. 17% ownership coming into Alperen Sengun. Around 10 to Van Vliet, Jabari Smith, and Jalen Green. I do think Sengun stands out here, but I kind of like most of the pieces for Houston.
Sengun definitely stands out. Tools love him here. I mean, he's third in our boom bust tool. So there are a lot of good plays on this slate. If you're playing Sengun, you're not playing all of Jamal Murray, Shea, and Wemby, but Sengun is right in that bucket. I think those four guys with maybe Kawhi now are the top five, like upper echelon spend up options on this slate. Spend up, I mean, over 8K. Maybe you could throw Anthony Edwards in that bucket too, but Murray, Shea, Sengun, Wemby, Kawhi, you're not playing all those guys. So Sengun is certainly in play there, but I'm not sure he's a priority over those other guys for me personally.
Okay. Yeah, I have a little bit more than the field. I could go either way with it. I do think he looks the best of the Houston dudes. But I've got 10% Jabari Smith. He's sort of the guy that I like more. I just don't have as much of him as I would like to.
Yeah, I'm with that. I think the secondary Houston guys are priced a little bit too cheap, especially for their upside. Just hard to prioritize them on this slate. They are good like lineup holders, though, for waiting for the New Orleans news. Like Van Vliet is in play at 7,200 in any matchup, not getting a lot of ownership. The guy that I'm intrigued with, though, and we didn't talk about Brandon Miller, but I throw this guy in the same boat, is Jalen Green, who is just playing really, really well right now. I didn't play him last slate. That's probably why he's on my mind, even though I looked hard at him and he absolutely nutted. Like, I'm not saying he's a great play at 6,500 here. Projections don't have him as a great play, but I heard you guys talking this morning about how sometimes players can improve rapidly. That might be what we're seeing with Jalen Green here. Sometimes it takes a year. Sometimes it takes 2 years. Like, he's still really, really young. So I'm not completely buying what he's selling, but he was also the number one pick for a reason. So who knows?
I'd like to see him just become a thing. I mean, it has been It has been a steady climb. He was a -3 plus minus guy around his 50th game. By his 100th game, it was like just under -2. It kind of held steady at 150. And then for the past 50 games, he's now true talent level somewhere in that -1 range. Now, again, he's young. He should I'm not surprised to see a young guard struggle like this, but he's going to start flirting with being like a close to average guy. If he can improve his efficiency just a little bit, that'll be a big start for him. And, as you learn more, as you get stronger, he may be able to finish a little bit better at the rim. That's sort of what he's missing at this moment.
For sure. He's fun to watch. At this point, for me, he's a guy like, if I land on him in like my last spot, I'm fine with it because he's got certainly guys upside at that price point, but he's too inconsistent to say he's anything close to a building block, especially with so many good plays on this slate. But like I said, he's got upside at 6,500, so don't hate it.
All righty. Then we go to Dallas. You ready to do this one?
As ready as I'll ever be, I guess.
Luka Doncic out. Dante Exum doubtful. Kyrie Irving out. Derek Jones Jr. doubtful. Derek Lively out. That is essentially their starting five. If it's Green now over Derek Jones Jr., that's fine. But this is like sort of their starting 5.5. They're just all not playing today. 70% ownership coming into Jaden Hardy. 45 to Tim Hardaway. 22 now to Grant Williams. Much less owned than he was earlier today. And then it just kind of stops. We don't have nearly as much value as you would expect in this spot. And I think it's just because no one's confident who like the 6 through 10 guys are in their rotation for today. Let's start with the easy one. Assuming Jaden Hardy is starting, and I do, 4,400 point guard, shooting guard seems like the easiest thing on the slate to do.
Yes, but I also don't think he's like an absolute lock in tournaments, because it's not only that he's getting overowned, because we see that a lot with these cheap guys. The boom bust tool has Cody Martin, same exact price point, projected for slightly higher fantasy points at 6 times, 6 less times the ownership of Hardy. Hardy looks good here. He projects great at 4,400. This is akin to me to the spot they faced Houston like a month or two ago, where all these guys were out and Dallas just completely shit the bed because they could not do anything offensively. I don't expect that to happen here, but it's in the realm against a really good, especially defensively, Minnesota team. Yeah. They could just completely shut them out. That said, Hardy's cheap enough where like he'll get there no matter what, probably. Like, will he have that upside game in that case? No, but he's 4,400, so you can play him no matter what. Yeah. I do get a little bit leery of like 50% owned Tim Hardaway Jr., and he can certainly pay off that price tag, 6K easily. But again, these guys just aren't getting too much love. They're coming in with like Hardy, negative 52, like that's just crazy. You just don't even see it that high usually.
No, it's a big number. I do feel like we're a little light on that optimal rate, just given where the ownership is going.
That's my question. Why is he only 18? I guess maybe how the slate, I think you're probably right. Maybe we're a little bit low on it, but that's the number that speaks volumes to me here.
Now we have him at 28 minutes. That is not a consensus number. I don't think it's crazy though. They don't seem to like him as much as the DFS community does.
Not even close. I'm trying to think about other guys like that. The first guy to come to mind, and he's not like this, is Chris Boucher. Similar in that the DFS community likes him more than real life teams do. Hardy is like just talented and he's fun to watch, but like clearly he's got some learning to do to be a regular rotation guy in the NBA.
Yeah, like I'd feel a little bit more comfortable at probably 30. And then you'd probably see that optimal creep to like, 27, 26. He's still going to be negative 40% leverage or whatever at that point in time. But I think it would reflect a little bit better. I just don't think it matters. On a point per dollar basis, he's the best play that exists on the slate. He's clearly the first guy that everybody has to put into a cash lineup. There's no way to get around that piece. What you do in a GPP on a 9-gamer, you're going to have options if that's the spot you want to get different. Or on the opposite side, similar story, like Tim Hardaway Jr., you're absolutely playing him in a cash game. There's no way or like that he is a consensus top cash option. But I think there are plenty of ways to get away from that if you're nervous about that Minnesota #1 defense. They could just lock down. I said this on the strategy show this morning. This could be a reverse blowout. They could hold Dallas to 75 points, and then Minnesota doesn't have to play well at all.
Kind of like what we've been worried about with Memphis, even though it hasn't happened. That's definitely in play tonight for Dallas. And yeah, I definitely think, like on the other side of that, like, and I'm pro, like I think Minnesota could just completely stomp them here and they have trouble doing anything offensively. On the other side though, like you don't have to fade these guys because there's a ton of other guys getting ownership on this slate. Like if you're playing more Dallas, maybe you don't play as much Denver. Like there's so many ways to get different tonight. It's a 9-game slate. I wouldn't worry about the ownership of one guy. If there were 2 guys to worry about it though, it'd be Hardy and Hardaway.
What do you want to do with Josh Green? 4,500 small forward, power forward, but he's sort of already priced for playing, north of 30 minutes. So we're only seeing him get 8% ownership. Maxi's not pulling all that much at 3,500 because he's just been dreadful on a per minute basis. It really is just those 3 main dudes.
Yeah, the Dallas guys aren't good and they're not expensive, but you're right, priced like for their roles now. These guys like Josh Green are not playable with Luka and Kyrie in at 4,500 when they're 4K 3,900. Yeah. So he's priced for his role. He's a fine play. There's just better plays across the slate. I think the only priority from Dallas for me would be Hardy. And then obviously the rest of them, including Hardaway, are in play. I don't really know what to do with like the second and third tier options on Dallas either, though, to be honest.
No, and you're seeing no ownership, like literal zero across the board for everybody else. Curry, Powell, Morris, Lawson, Omax Prosper, Rashawn, like nobody's getting any love. I don't think that's crazy. If they're not starting, I have no trust in who's going to be the rest of the dudes in this rotation.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm with you.
like,
And I will say, just on a quick side note, our tools updated since we got the Paul George news.
okay,
Kawhi and Harden are popping hard, and so is Westbrook. So like the
okay,
Clippers even look better than I thought they would. That's not shocking.
no,
But they look really good here.
okay. Definitely something the NBA Live before lock dudes will be able to dig into in a big, big way. Anything else you want to touch on here for Dallas?
Not really. I am really, really worried about this spot. I'm much more apt to play a lot of Denver than I am Dallas. Hardy aside, he's just so cheap.
And then we go to the Minnesota side, which is intriguing to me. And they have been all day. We have a Q tag on Mike Conley once again. And we have 20% ownership to Anthony Edwards, 10 to Karl Anthony Towns, around 15 to Rudy Gobert. I've got a little bit of Naz Reid right now, which I really like in this matchup. I've got some Towns. I've got some Jaden McDaniels. I really like Anthony Edwards. He's in 35% of my stuff. If he wants it, he's going to be able to give this Dallas team the business today.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I included him in that top tier of guys. My problem now is like priced in between Harden and Kawhi. I like those guys more now. I like Wemby a little bit more.
Yeah.
All these guys are similar though. And you're right. Like Ant can give Dallas the business here. The thing I'm most worried about, like you said it, it's the reverse blowout. If Minnesota just stomps Dallas here, that's not a great game script for Anthony Edwards. Doesn't mean that he can't do well, especially if Dallas is turning the ball over and stuff, but it's not the ideal script for Edwards here. And I just think there's better options now in that pricing range. That said,
Sure.
he's in that tier of guys. Like I think the cutoff's actually after him, like with Murray, Kawhi, Harden, Shea, Sengun, Wemby, Anthony Edwards. Big drop.
Are you feeling any other pieces here for me? Like, what do you want to do with someone like Naz Reid then? If you're nervous here, 4,400 power forward center, does he become like a sneaky GPP play?
I always like getting to Naz Reid, especially like you said in a spot like this. And yeah, he is a guy that's already in the rotation. Good benefit no matter how weird this game gets. And I'm not playing Minnesota guys or Naz Reid because I think Dallas just sucks and Minnesota's going to destroy them. But it doesn't make me like him any less is the best way to put it.
I get that. Anything else you want to touch on here for the Minnesota Timberwolves?
No, I think that all their guys look good, but I don't want too much exposure to Minnesota in any one lineup, I don't think, unless you're playing a lot of Dallas.
Right. That makes sense. Orlando Magic, 5.5-point favorites in San Antonio, 226 total. 7% ownership coming into Franz Wagner, 9 to Paolo Banchero. And I don't have a single share of anybody from the Magic. Great spot, but these guys are all sort of priced exactly where they're supposed to be.
Yeah, they are. Banchero's on that list of guys like Sabonis and Fox for me. I'll never mind if I get there. I could see him wanting to do work tonight against Wemby. Doesn't mean I'm going to play him, though, over some of the other guys we talked about. Orlando, they're appealing because of the spot they're in, but other teams are in good spots with better price tags. Orlando's healthy. They started Jonathan Isaac last game, didn't they?
They did. They did indeed.
He got hurt, but was someone else out for them? I can't remember the exact scenario.
Fultz was out.
Okay. That explains it.
John Isaac played one rotation to start 6 minutes, picked up another minute 52 in the second quarter, and that was his night.
I can't even find Banchero in our tools. I must be.
He was 10% optimal, 9% owned before. Probably went down a little bit now. 8,400 power forward only. You know, projected in that like 40 to 45 range. You're not missing anything.
No, I'm not. I just oh, there he is. Okay, yeah. It's just talked about Anthony Edwards. I mean, he's doesn't project as well as Edwards, certainly not as well as Kawhi and Harden. I like Wemby a lot on the other side, so I'm a little intrigued by playing like Paolo with Wemby, but doesn't mean I'm going to do it.
Well, let's talk about that opposite side for San Antonio. Spurs have a Q tag on Dominic Barlow, a Q tag on Zach Collins. Collins has missed the last two. Only 12% ownership coming into Wemby. No one else from San Antonio is getting any love. I have 14% right now. And honestly, like I'll take basically every night, I'll take whatever I can get.
It's the same discussion that we've had about all these other players. Like I like Wemby a lot here, but that means that I'm not going to get to as much Sengun, the other Clippers guys. Like Wemby, as it stands now, is a priority for me. I love it when we can get guys with this high of upside also coming in with leverage. Who knows how the ownership lands when the slate actually happens? He was 75% owned in like the whatever contest it was the other night. So crazy to see a guy. He played well too. I know his price rose a little bit, but 75 to 10. I know the matchup isn't good, but he's matchup proof. Give me all the Wemby I can get. I hope to be able to get to him. We haven't even talked about Denver OKC yet, though, which is like the big elephant in the room. So I like Wemby, but he's not as much of a priority as those guys. He's right on the next level for me.
Yeah, I'm hoping I can end up with a little bit more. It's going to be interesting now because we obviously just made Kawhi Leonard look better. We just made $8,500 James Harden look better. So that upper range is changing a little bit in comparison to where we were before we started off this show. Anything else you want to touch on from the San Antonio Spurs?
No, I think that's it.
Alrighty, folks. One last thing for you guys. One, you're up to 300 likes, so 292 of you are very excited to watch NBA Live Before Lock. The other 1,800 of you in here right now must not want to watch the show. Hit that thumbs up. Otherwise, NBA Live Before Lock goes bye-bye. I want you guys to sign up for our all-access Sims package. We now have a sim tool for NBA, NFL, MMA, PGA, and baseball all in one package. Now, the original price on this is $550, but if you want to save yourself $150 a month, all you have to do is use our stochastic avatar where you're playing. Load that bad boy up on DraftKings and let us know. You'll get $150 off each month by using the avatar. That price comes down to $399.95. That is access to every single piece of data that we have on the back end and all of the Sims tools, premium Discord. You get everything we've got. So use our avatar, sign up for the all access pass, and get $150 off by using that logo. And here we go. Denver Nuggets. 6.5-point underdogs now in Oklahoma City, taking on the Thunder. Big piece of news in this one. Kind of relevant. I think you guys have heard of him. Maybe you haven't. I could be wrong. Nikola Jokic, not Jovic, Jokic is out for today. Everybody else that's normally playing for Denver is playing. And boy, oh boy, do we got a decent chunk of ownership coming in here. Call it around 10% for KCP, Peyton Watson, Reggie Jackson, in the 25 range to Aaron Gordon and MPJ, in the mid to high 30s for Jamal Murray. And the guy we all assume is starting at center for tonight, DeAndre Jordan, 4K center, which is kind of annoying. Wherever you want to start, you may start.
Is the 4K why he's only getting 25% ownership? Because that seems really low to me.
I think so. I think you might actually, like, with some ambiguity of whether or not he starts. I mean, I assume he starts, but there's also that we don't know for sure that he is going to be the starter. So that is a bit of an assumption. I think that number can probably come up a little bit once we know, if you get that information early enough. But yeah, he's 4K. Looks really good.
If he's starting, to me, surpasses Hardy as the top value play on the slate. Just that center, that value, if he gets minutes, he's going to get there. I mean, that's just what he does. Like, he's not a great NBA player at this point, but he's a big man who can pull in rebounds and make, easy buckets inside. So he's an easy lock for me. I like all these guys in the order of which I like them. I think Jordan first, just because of his price point. Jamal Murray second. He's playing really well right now. He's way too cheap for the circumstances of Jokic being out tonight. He's a 9K player plus in this spot if Jokic is out for a long time. So he looks like a really good play. Same with Aaron Gordon, 5,400. He's been very meh lately. but he's the lowest. I did my contrarian article today before the Jokic news came out, so he was popping as a contrarian guy. Obviously not so much anymore, but these same points still hold. He's the cheapest he's been all season. His average price point this season is like 6,400. So he's 1,000 cheaper with Jokic out. Yes, please. If he fails, he fails. Those three guys, I find it really, really hard to get away from. Then Michael Porter is third for me. No problem with Porter Jr. at all. The ownership's fine. I like him. How much Denver do I want to play? He's not like those other three guys to me. And then you get to the value, which looks really good from a contrarian standpoint. Peyton Watson, Christian Braun. Don't trust these guys, but they're coming in with nice leverage, and I wouldn't mind getting to either one of those guys as a last piece in at really cheap price points. Denver looks like the best team on the slate in my eyes.
They look really good. I got a bunch of Murray, a bunch of Jordan, a bunch of Aaron Gordon. So we laid that one out pretty perfectly there. So we're kind of on the same page. I don't have as much of the value guys. I don't really have Peyton Watson at this moment. I don't really have Reggie Jackson at this moment. I'm also the one guy that I am light to is Michael Porter Jr., which is the guy that I usually get a lot of. I would like to have more. We had him at least, bang neutral earlier in the boom bust tool. I feel like I have him projected pretty well too. It just for right now. I mean, 0.85 DraftKings points per minute over the last 30 days for MPJ. He hasn't exactly been hot. Probably why we see his price at 5,700. Maybe Jokic being out is what he's looking for.
Maybe, but I also feel like just in my head, he's the guy that gets the least benefit of Jokic being out. Sure, everyone gets a bump, more rebounds, more everything, but like he needs to be, he's a guy that shoots a lot when he catches the ball. Jokic sets him up with better shots than anyone will ever set him up with shots. Jamal Murray's going to have the ball in his hands more. He's not looking to pass as much. So yeah, I can definitely get sold on Porter being the odd guy out of the four main guys personally.
Do you have any worry for Jordan if Denver's just going to go small and go Gordon at the 5?
You mean if he comes off the bench and doesn't start?
Yeah.
Yeah, big worries then.
Because I like that match. I like that matchup of Gordon earmarking Chet more than I like DeAndre Jordan. And then you have to hide DeAndre Jordan on KCP so that you can still do the same thing. Because you're not letting DeAndre Jordan pull out on Chet. That's not what you're going to be looking for. So Jordan would likely be guarding KCP. I don't know why I'm saying it like that. Well, Jordan's obviously not guarding KCP. That's
his
not
guy.
Yeah, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. Jordan would be guarding like Cason Wallace in this scenario, potentially like somebody that's not going to be using a lot of possessions. God, I was running myself into the ground on that one.
So yes. Okay, I would have worries there, but only really if they don't start Jordan, because if they do start him in that scenario and Gordon's just on Chet, I like that better for Jordan. Weak side blocks, better rebounding positioning. I think that the only way I'm personally off DeAndre Jordan is if he doesn't start. Then he's still in play for me, but they're not apt to give him huge minutes. They don't have to, certainly. No. So I think he starts. I'd be surprised if he doesn't start. We've read this book before. That's where they usually go. Is Zeke Naji still a thing?
I mean, he's on the team.
Because he used to be the guy that would start for Jokic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they've had no confidence in him. They have not used him in a while in any sort of real role. I just keep getting this feeling. I don't know why I have it, but I keep getting this feeling that they're going to start Peyton Watson and look to limit OKC in a different way.
Well, then I think and again, he's not as good of a fantasy asset as DeAndre Jordan, but he's not eating up a center spot. He's cheaper. It makes if that happens, Aaron Gordon probably becomes my favorite play on the slate. All of a sudden, he's starting at the 5 at 5,400 with power forward eligibility. And Watson, he's going to have to play big here too. He's dirt cheap. He becomes probably the guy I get to over DeAndre Jordan. I don't like it as much as I would Jordan if it's Jordan, but I think he's I like him more than Amir Coffey.
The other reason that I think that this is possible is that also then keeps you alive to have that Reggie Jackson, DeAndre Jordan combo that seems to work pretty well for the pick and roll. Whereas you don't necessarily have that then if Jordan starts and then he comes out the moment Reggie Jackson's coming in. I kind of like lining those two guys up on the second unit too.
Yeah, Shaq Kobe 2.0.
Something like that. Anything else you want to touch on here for Denver?
No, I think that's it.
On the OKC side, only one man is getting a lot of ownership. That is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 9,900. He's point guard only. There's no Jalen Williams in this one. The Jalen Williams that really matters. But SGA is now in. Chet is in. No Isaiah Joe, too, by the way. Lou Dort available. They were all questionable earlier. SGA is 20% owned. This is my primary pay up option. He's in half of my lineups. SGA with no Jalen Williams. I want all of it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's all there needs to be said. He looks really, really good here. Now, I think he looks comparable to Kawhi, Harden, Sengun, Wemby, Edwards. He projects better than them. He's also the most expensive. So you're going to have to sacrifice something to get there. But he projects as like by far the highest. He projects as the highest scoring guy on the slate by a pretty good amount. So at some point, that's just needed, especially with a lot of value. Yeah. No Jalen Williams, potentially under projected here just because we haven't seen this much without a full game of him. So
yeah,
I like everyone on OKC more. Shai, for sure, the top guy, a priority for me as well. Right there with Wemby as my top pay-up option on the slate. I also think Chet could see a sneaky boost.
7,400 center only unowned in this spot. Got positive leverage on him as well. I certainly wouldn't mind getting to Chet. I don't have him, but that's not by choice. I'd be happy to get there with no Jokic out. Like, if it is DeAndre Jordan on the opposite side of him for a decent chunk of time, that's a good thing for Chet.
Yeah, most definitely. And I just think their main guys are going to have the ball in their hands more because Jalen Williams is really good and has the ball in his hands a lot.
DeAndre Jordan's so bad. Good God. He has been negative plus minus offense and defense for the last 4 years.
That's remarkable. He used to be a good defender, I want to say.
Yeah, I mean, he's 35 now. He's just like, the league passed him by.
How bad must Najee be in practice for them to not even give him run over DeAndre Jordan at this point?
I don't know what they're doing. I really don't. I mean,
they're doing something right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know what they're doing with their backup center position. They pretty much nail everything else they do.
That's fair.
Let's close this out. Phoenix Suns. Not a lot to talk about here. 3-point favorites in Brooklyn. 233 total. Single digit ownership across the board. It's like 5% to Booker. Durant's like 7% optimal. As always, if you want to play Beal, you want to play Booker, you want to play Durant, go for it. Durant revenge narrative against Booker or against Brooklyn, if that's what you're looking for. But I find Phoenix pretty difficult to get to.
Did you see Durant tweet out? Like someone was asking, should they give a tribute video? And Durant was like, please do not do that. Like, do not do that.
Like, he doesn't
don't
care.
do it. No, why would he care about his 6 months in Brooklyn?
No.
Phoenix is basically impossible to get to as priorities. Their main guys are Sacramento-esque, and like you can always play a Durant Booker, but I mean, far down the list of guys that I'm prioritizing tonight.
Yep. And Q-tag on Grayson Allen, Q-tag on Bol. I mean, the Grayson Allen one probably matters a little bit because he plays 30-something minutes a night, but not enough that it's just going to like free somebody up to be amazing.
Their secondary pieces are just so bad.
They certainly are. They really are. Brooklyn Nets, final team to talk about before you and I get out of here. It's been fun. It went quick. Hit that like button. We're almost up over 500. That's the threshold we are looking for. Now, Brooklyn has no Ben Simmons. Shocked. Knee now. Injury. Incredible. Dorian Finney-Smith also out. Day'Ron Sharp still out. It's single-digit ownership to everybody, but we also have some pretty positive leverage coming in here. Whether that, like Lonnie Walker is that guy, shooting guard, small forward, 3,500. I've got a scattered amount of this team, but I don't have a lot of any individual guy. Like 10% of Cam Thomas, 10% of Dinwiddie, 10% of Bridges, which I like. I'm happy to have a little bit of a stronghold here on Brooklyn because I think it just helps me when I need to make my pre-8 o'clock swaps.
Yeah, nice placeholders here, I should say. Walker had been the top leverage play in our tools all day. He's now second to PJ Washington, which is a guy we talked about, seems like days ago, that you liked a lot. Now I only like PJ Washington more. I don't really get the Walker leverage and his optimal percentage being that high, but again, I'll trust the tools on this one. I'm not prioritizing him, but certainly fine with him as a like differentiator with only a tiny bit of opportunity cost because of how cheap he is. This game is best for placeholders. It's not a great game from a DFS perspective. The guys being out for Brooklyn helps them, but doesn't push them. Like, let's say Zion is out. You're not getting to Brooklyn over New Orleans. You're just not.
No, you're not. By the way, Derrick Rose is doubtful for tomorrow, so thanks, underdog.
That helps. Matthew Hurt didn't play awful, though.
No, he did. Dude, that guy's a bucket, apparently. I look at his G League stats. Oh,
right?
My God.
I was listening to that. I couldn't believe you didn't know who he was coming from Duke. Not that he was like some star at Duke, but like
I was very disconnected from college basketball for a couple of years.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, he definitely doesn't look like a guy who's putting up 25 a game in the G League, but here we are.
Final thing I'm going to hit. Sean Jeezy hit us with the super chat. I don't really feel like I should be giving you any advice or information. You continue to win on a day-to-day basis. So maybe I should super chat you at this point. He said, Josh, what do you have Hardy projected for? I've seen an unusually wide range around the industry, and I'm curious where you stand and why. I have him in for 32 minutes, 32.8 fantasy points. I may be a hair high. I might walk that back a minute. I don't think it's going to matter for me at all. I'm kind of splitting the difference in the industry right now. I got him at 1.02 fantasy points per minute, and I'm seeing that as sort of the consensus rate. So I feel good about where I have him, but I am a little nervous about his playing time because they just don't seem to like him. I
think we're actually a little bit low compared to other places as far as his projection goes, though.
Yeah, look, I think there's a lot of volatility in his playing time. Like, I think the low end and the high end are all very viable for today. I don't have a lot of confidence.
Completely agree.
Well, we are done, folks. NBA Live Before Lock coming up next. To the people that hit the like button, since we are under 500, if you haven't done it yet, you're about to get a black screen. Good luck, everybody. Thanks to Sleeper for sponsoring. We'll talk to you later.
Yo, it's that time of week again, and what a week it's been. Maybe a little more than a week for the stochastic avatars all over the leaderboard. If you're trying to get involved, you want to get a free month stochastic package, any one of your choice, up to $200 value, and get inducted into the Hall of Fame right here every single week. All you got to do, download the stochastic profile picture at stochastic.com/avatar. Tweet us your wins with the screenshot, maybe a cool message as well at Stochastic Hall of Fame. As long as it's a field of 5,000 or more and you finish top 3, you are in. Let's get it started for the week. And we kick it off with our boy, Eric Lindquist. I'm not reading all that, brother, but I love you. $30,000 taking down, chopping the fadeaway for $30K. Just an absolutely massive day for Eric, and we're very happy for him. He said a lot of nice things, but we only have so much time in the day. Peter Hanley, he's back, baby. $50K for Peter Hanley, taking down another one, saying keep it real. Tommy Stoke, how about this one? Our own Tommy, $113,000 on DraftKings. I'm no DFS pro, but using stochastic sims made me feel like one last night. Needless to say, chalk up a new high score, move over PokerStars Sunday warm-up. Here's my 113K lineup and how I basically clicked 3 buttons to create. You love to see that. The sims are working, and they're working well for every sport. Losing to a girl, shout out to the Sims tool. Also, screw you, Jabari Walker. I know this isn't a huge hit. Just want my free month of Sims. And Jorge's back. $60 in the 6,400. It's been a while, but here we are. 6th, an amazing ROI with $60 entry. Thanks to the fantastic tools and content by the boys. Alex M, let's go. Another win. $4,000. Second place in the 3-point stance for Alex. Mike, coming in hot with a $300 win, down to his last $20 before he had to deposit again. Said, your tool saved me. I'm a believer, best in the industry. Gary Wright, less than a week using the lineup generator and found myself in first place. Shout out to Gary. Chris, $1,750. A very simple man with at Stochastic HOF, but interesting screenshot because first place was Gridiron for $7,500, also rocking the Stochastic avatar. And Sean's back every single week, Monster Night on DK. Shout out to the Stochastic crew, best tools and content in the game. What's that? Almost $6,000 between 2 different contests. And CEO of Stochastic, Tom Kennedy, $50,000, just saying decent. And then different sports, same sims, 12,600. We just released the MMA Sims too, so that looks good. X Night, what an awesome night. Finally managed to get my first Owner's Box Showdown win. NFL Sims Tool's been a game changer for me in my DFS journey. And Tyson with a $450 win in the end one. That's a tough one to win. Not to mention Slim Lancaster with a $2,000 win there. Second place was also another stochastic avatar. Rob Stay growing the bankroll with a nice $700+ win here. And then you've got Michael Vassell. Thanks for the inflow. Watch your videos regularly to help build my lineups. Was able to get second in the 30K and one. Don't know if I used the right avatar. That's fine. It works. It says stochastic. To get the free month, but still very thankful. Keep doing what you're doing. Shout out to all you guys. Welcome to the Hall of Fame. If you haven't been here before, if you have, welcome back. Remember, all you got to do to get involved, get a free $200 subscription to your choosing, is use the avatar at stochastic.com/avatar and tweet your wins to us at stochastic_HOF. We'll see you back here next week.
Ouch.
That is true. Yep. We rearranged the room just recently.
It's beautiful.
So people can see my title belt up there.
What is happening, everybody? It's time for NBA Live Before Lock, as Lee is giving Eric and I a little tour of his office here before we're starting. We're looking at fuzzy pillows. We're talking about Lee's always fancy dress attire as he shows up to shows. But most importantly, we've got the NBA slate covered for you guys. And all we're going to ask for you is to like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And also, a little bit of a giveaway for you guys. If you check out our Instagram account, which is stochastic_com over on the Instagram, there is a post up there. How many points is Devin Booker going to score? Whoever gets closest or gets the answer right to how many points Devin Booker is going to have today, you're going to get yourself a free subscription to our lineup generator package. So go check it out. There's zero opportunity cost to you. All you have to do is follow our account over on Instagram, respond with how many points you think Devin Booker is going to score. Give yourself a chance to win some free stuff. And for anybody else who wants to sign up for the lineup generator, we also have a link for that below in the description box. But go take advantage of that giveaway over on Instagram and check it out over there. Eric, how are you doing today? What's happening?
Well, you know, everybody wants to bring up Embiid instantly, where, again, you play DFS to win. You play to win the game. Duh. But it didn't work out. I will say that I didn't know that he was playing on one leg, and now he might literally be playing on one leg, already ruled out for tomorrow. Hopefully he's not hurt long-term. But yeah, it was pretty rough watching that. You kind of knew after the first 6 minutes when, you know, he didn't do his normal first quarter 15 points and 8 boards thing, that I was going to be in a lot of trouble. And yeah, 80% Joel Embiid did not work out for me yesterday.
I had 30% of him, which was also a number that didn't work out for me. I had one lineup that I thought was very live going into the final game of the night, but it was dependent on a ceiling game out of both Joel Embiid and Draymond Green. I had one lineup that had like all other than Aaron Nesmith. I did all of the nuts but Nesmith last night. And I was looking, I'm like, if I get like 70 out of Joel Embiid, if I get something like 50 out of Draymond, I was looking and I was like, I think I'm going to win the $15. That didn't happen. Not even close to happening. So I ended up not being the best slate for myself on just what a return. But I really do think that in hindsight, Joel Embiid, one of the top plays on the slate last night, results aside, if you tell me you're going to get Joel Embiid without Tyrese Maxey, 12% ownership on a small slate, I'll sign up for that every single day of the week. Unfortunately, it was very apparent I don't know, minutes into the game, he wasn't going to be healthy. One of the things, Eric, I don't know if you were hanging out in our Odd Chopper Discord last night, but I'm watching the game. I threw a live bet in there. I was like, guys, we're betting the Golden State Warriors live tonight because Joel Embiid, he does not look right tonight. And yeah, he had to leave the game early because of a knee injury. He came back and then seemed to get hurt even worse. So we'll see. Hopefully it's not anything too significant, but I do assume Joel Embiid done at least as far as end of the season accolades are concerned. I don't see any way he gets to 65 games now.
Toast. Completely toast.
FanDuel took him off the board for all futures, Mark, just assuming that he's dead. So I will see. Hopefully nothing too serious with Joel Embiid, but it really did not look great last night. Any of these super chats, have they been answered already, Jordan, or are we going to the blank slate? All right. So let's answer the super chat from the Consigliere. The Consigliere says for DraftKings. And also, Jordan, if you could pull up the player compare tool for this one, we've got a 2v2. It is Washington and Coffee. So we're going to go up PJ Washington and Amir Coffee on one side. And then we've got Tim Hardaway Jr. And then I assume that is going to be Aaron Wiggins. That's on the other side of that. Because
the second one instantly without even thinking twice.
I tend to agree, but let's pull it up on the player compare tool anyway. I think it's also going to be Tim Hardaway Jr. and Aaron Wiggins, but I don't know about you. I'm not particularly high on Aaron Wiggins tonight.
I'm not either. And, find $200 in your couch cushions and put it towards Peyton Watson instead.
Yeah, we've got Wiggins priced at 3,300. Let me see if there's anybody I prefer around that price point. 3,300 as a forward. What does
Peyton
the player
Watson
compare tool say also? Player compare tool says 57.8% on the Wiggins and Hardaway side over the Coffee in Washington. But either way, let's just go and look and see. Is there anybody we prefer for 3,300? Let's see. So 3,300 and Wiggins is small forward, power forward. So we'll say anybody 33 or lower at forward. See if there's anybody else that stands out more. I'd rather roster Kenrich Williams than Aaron Wiggins if you can make that.
I would too. I definitely would too.
So that's one way you could upgrade that lineup a little bit there. The Consigliere, but Hardaway / Wiggins, then you could go Kenrich Williams instead of Wiggins as a preferred option for myself. Then Ace of Spade. Guess what he wants to know, Eric? Our favorite options for DK tiers.
I built those today. I did build them today. Yep.
Tier. This is probably the easiest tier 1 of the season, is it not?
There's one guy. You're playing Sabonis.
You're playing Sabonis.
Hopefully you have 98% ownership towards Sabonis and you're getting 2% of your rate back. That would be great.
Yeah, Sabonis is the only available option in tier 1. Everybody else in tier 1 ruled out tonight. That is the state of things in NBA DFS 4 tonight. Tier 2, that is going to be SGA for me, but a little closer than you would think it started to be between Wemby and SGA. Wemby really coming on as fantasy producer. SGA for now. But
he was always a fantasy producer. It's just that he's coming on as a minutes guy now. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah, well, still, though, his fantasy points per minute production, it's insane. He's like a 1.8 or something fantasy points per minute guy over the last month. And now, like you said, also starting to get those minutes.
0 minutes next to Zach Collins helps.
For now, the answer is SGA. But when we start to get 1v1s, SGA versus Wemby in the future.
Speaking of Zach Collins out and Keldon Johnson out, that's fun. Actually, that's a headache. I don't want to do anything with San Antonio against Orlando, but maybe we'll find something.
We'll circle back on this in a second. First, let's finish the DK tier super chats, and then we'll hit on Keldon Johnson and Zach Collins both being ruled out. Does open up a little bit more usage for Wemby with Keldon Johnson out. Not anything that massively changes his outlook or anything, but tier 3 for me, that is James Harden with Paul George now out.
Same.
Tier 4, that is going to be Kawhi Leonard for me because Paul George is not out.
Same.
All right, couple easy ones there. A few easy tiers today. Tier 5, another fairly easy one for me. Jamal Murray because Nikola Jokic is out.
By a mile.
Tier 6.
Brandon Ingram.
We can go to here. I'm going to go with Vooch, but there's a lot of players you can consider. And if Zion's out, I think Ingram is the guy over Vooch.
I would just sit, wait, watch. I like Brandon Ingram the most.
All right. I go with Vooch, you go with Ingram, but like I said, I would prefer Ingram to Vooch if we do see Zion get ruled out. Zion is officially questionable with a foot injury. As far as other players who are still waiting for injury news on, so we just got the news on the Spurs guys. which we're going to hit on in a second. But then in addition to that, Jared Allen is questionable. Zion Williamson is questionable. Darius Garland is officially questionable, but all reports indicate that he's going to be playing today with some sort of like 20 to 24 minutes restriction coming back from a broken jaw. Mike Conley is questionable. Grayson Allen is questionable. So let's talk about the Spurs news that just came out, Eric. What do you make of it? Because we already have a good amount of value on this slate. A lot of key players have been ruled out. Keldon Johnson and Zach Collins being out. Surely it matters for the Spurs rotation, but is it going to matter for your DFS lineups?
We'll see. I mean, Wembanyama, I just added about a fantasy 1.5, which again, for a guy that was already going to be in a pretty noticeable heap of my lineups, that's not going to change as much as what, you know, it might on a different slate. 9,200, he looks fantastic. I guess my question for you is like, do we want to take a drive down Devin Vassell Road at 6,800 to get a little bit different? Do we want to try to make Jeremy Sohan a thing? I mean, Julian Champagny is probably the guy at 3,600 who gets the most, but like I prefer just about anybody in terms of value to his 0.81 fantasy points per minute. And, you know, minutes that are still going to be pretty capped. They can go to Cedi Osman. They can go to some of these other guys off the bench to give them more minutes. So I guess it's probably a better question for Lee. It's like Keldon Johnson, he'd only been playing around 28 minutes, 29 minutes a night here. And so we're taking that off the floor. You Zach Collins, that shores up the 5 for Wemby, but like some combination of Dominic Barlow, Sandro Mukashvili. Neither are really that fascinating to me today, but are we getting to anything from San Antonio extra against Orlando, a tough defensive spot?
Not really. I mean, you kind of hit it on the head. This is Pop's team. He's going to give a handful of minutes to like all sorts of people. I will say that like Sokan, his minutes are pretty volatile, and so they stabilize a little bit here. So like he's less of a volatile play, and same with Vassell. Those guys both kind of will have more stable minutes in this type of game. But honestly, nothing looks particularly good. I'm giving Cedi like a decent number of minutes, like 20, 22 or something like that, but pretty thin. We're pretty thin everywhere.
Yeah, pretty darn thin, that's for sure. What about you, Greg? You see anything?
So the projections are updated, and there's nothing that's a priority for me. And I do want to make clear that there is going to be a difference about how I might build my lineups out of 150 set versus how I'll tell people to play one lineup. Because I know a lot of you guys are watching. Our hand builders building 1, 2, 3 lineups. If you're playing one lineup, 2 lineups, 3 lineups, the only player I'm really giving a lot of consideration to from the Spurs is Wemby. And Wemby's a very important option for me today. In my set of lineups, I'm going to get to some exposure to Vassell. I'm going to get some exposure to Jeremy Sokan now. And these are guys I didn't have at all before, but it's not like these are going to be guys that show up in 30, 40% of lineups or anything like that. It's just players who go from not being in my player pool at all to players who are going to end up in some of my lineups. Once I redo everything here, once I go everything through the contest generator and through the Sims, I'm going to start getting some exposure to these guys, but I don't expect them to be massive pieces of my player pool tonight.
Nor do I. It was more of just like I went from pretty much having none of those guys to it looks as though I'm going to get to a little bit. I'll speak more intelligently about it here when we get to some of the value pieces and like, can they fit around them? You know, getting to some different 5, 6K pieces isn't the worst way of trying to get different, especially later on. We might want to turn it into some Pelican stuff that exists there at 8 p.m., but we have enough Denver pieces. We have enough Dallas pieces in that same window that I doubt like the extra swappability or something is something I'm concerned about. It's mainly just like, can they get me 50? I think they both can.
Free square to take advantage of over at Sleeper. They have over under 0.5 points for Devin Booker. How do you guys get access to that prop? Well, all you have to do is sign up at Sleeper using the link that we have below, which is going to grant you access to over 0.5 points for Devin Booker. And also get a deposit match bonus of up to $500. You put in 500, they give you 500. Put in 100, they give you 100. So you don't have to deposit the 500, but if you want to, they'll do up to 500 there. So take advantage of Sleeper using the link we have below. Most importantly, you want to go play over 0.5 points for Devin Booker tonight. Free square. That's the easiest money you're going to make today. So let's go and see what else we have as far as super chats go. The next one here is from Phil Senzig. I think a lot of these questions, I don't even have to read the question. I can just read the name and I know what the question is. Eric, who puts it in the basket? Lotion play of the night.
The lotion. Put the lotion in the basket. James Harden's going to put it in the basket repeatedly. Actually, he's probably going to pass it to a lot of people who also put it in the basket, but that's like, you know, passing the lotion around at the orgy. So way to go, Mr. James Harden. Lotion everywhere.
Strip Club Hall of Famer,
That's what I'm saying.
How many NBA players could say they had their jersey lifted into the rafters, I mean to say, at a strip club? James Harden spent $1 million in cash at a strip club one night. At the end of the night, what do? They take his jersey, they hang it up in the rafters, they do a ceremony, they retired his jersey. So he is going to put the lotion in the basket tonight. Which way do I want to go with this? It's always tough because, like I was saying yesterday, I never know which players I want to use for which skit and bit these days, Eric, because we've got a lot of them that go on. Let's see.
Endless supply. Somebody said that their wife just said you. I kind of say you in my head every time I'm doing it. It's like cringe to me too. Don't worry.
Which part of this?
All of it.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. Yeah.
Every waking moment. Yes. There you are.
That's very fair. Very fair. Which way do I want to go with this? All right, I'm going to go with Jamal Murray in the absence of Nikola Jokic. There's a lot of guys that are benefiting from players being out today. You could go with Kawhi Leonard. You go with James Harden, who Eric went with. You could look at Aaron Gordon. You could look at Jamal Murray. There are a ton of players who are benefiting from a star teammate being out tonight. Jamal Murray is one of them. He's projected for a good amount of ownership, 35%, but I am overweight to that mark, getting to Jamal Murray in 51% of my top 150 lineups tonight, Eric. So Jamal Murray, that is a core play for me. I'm going to say he puts the lotion in the basket tonight. Yep. Coley Poston has $5,900 left for his utility spot. He wants to know who he should fill his lineup out with the caveat being that no Nuggets are allowed. No Nuggets. So $5,900 can't be a player from Denver.
Daniel Gafford.
Let's see. You came up with that answer very quick.
Yeah, I think Daniel Gafford's one of those dudes where when the games go completely blowout central or whatever, it keeps his price tag down in a spot where I feel like I have like 5% of him, 10% of him every single slate. He's 5,900 still. He's going to play 28 to 30 minutes in competitive spots. Does this end up competitive? Probably not, but like Paul George out probably doesn't hurt matters. Paul George, yeah, I would say Daniel Gafford.
I have a sneaky one for today. Sneaky play here at this.
You're very sneaky, sir.
Russell Westbrook. So Westbrook, I don't know that he's guaranteed to see big minutes in the absence of Paul George, but this is still a guy who could accumulate a lot of counting stats in the time that he's on the court. So Russell Westbrook is somebody who I think is a pretty volatile play. I wouldn't be looking at him in cash games. We got him projected for 13% ownership in GPPs. The absence of Paul George, that creates the opportunity for extra playing time for Russell Westbrook. Not guaranteed minutes, but the opportunity for those extra minutes, as well as extra usage and extra fantasy points in those minutes he's on the court. Yeah. So Russell Westbrook is a contrarian play that I'm liking for tournaments.
Yeah, I will say, like, Michael Porter Jr. at 5,700 is going to be crazy popular. Probably should be, but like more shooting dependent. The rebound rate is going to go up a little bit here too. But you know, he's never been a distributor of the basketball. You're always going to need him to put the ball in the basket. He's more of like an everyday lotion play. So I will say Michael Porter Jr., if he's that crazy popular, you have Nick Richards, you have Russell Westbrook, you have Daniel Gafford, you have even like Alex Caruso, PJ Washington. Like there's a lot of guys in this range to like trim a little bit of ownership. If you're playing like more than one lineup, obviously, you know, you're going to want more of the Michael Porter Jr. involved.
Keep in mind, he did say no Denver Nuggets players allowed.
He did say that. So then that's my listening at that play. So I appreciate that he was thinking game theory too. There you are.
All right. So Coley Poston, I went with Russell Westbrook, and we got Daniel Gafford out of Eric. He tried to pivot to Michael Porter Jr., forgetting about
No, I didn't. I said that I just wanted to point out that he was going to be popular in the range. No.
All right, so Eric is going to go with Michael Porter Jr. Final answer.
So annoying.
Anthony Maselli says favorite TK plays per position, but no Mavs. This is actually very, because if you read this without the proper no, because there's no periods or anything included here. So he said favorite Mavs and no Mavs, which is a little confusing, but I think this is how he intends to us to answer. Our favorite players at each position without including the Mavericks, and then afterwards we answer who our favorite Mavericks are. So position by position, starting at point guard for me, it's Jaden Hardy.
Jaden Hardy.
Shooting guard. I'm going to change this up. I want to go with Jamal Murray at point guard so that I could say
what I have as well.
Never mind. We are absolute dunces. No Mavs allowed for this part of the exercise.
Oh, so okay. Well, there you go. Then it's Jamal Murray. Done.
Jamal Murray at point guard.
Yeah, but you learn your own freaking questions, Greg.
Shooting guard, Anthony Edwards.
Anthony Edwards. No, not Anthony Edwards. What? No. Ayo Dosunmu for me again. Running back, the GOAT from yesterday that didn't end up mattering because Joel Embiid.
Small forward for me, Kawhi Leonard.
Kawhi Leonard.
Power forward for me, Victor Wembanyama.
Wow, I like it so much, but it's Aaron Gordon for me. I'm a dunce cap.
And then center for me is going to be DeAndre Jordan.
It is going to be DeAndre Jordan.
All right, and let's get through a couple more super chats, and then get ready to play the animation, Jordan, because we're going to be doing the nuke of the night shortly. Next super chat here is from True Rages. Other part of Anthony's super chat. Our favorite Mavericks. That is going to be Jaden Hardy on an island by himself as the best Maverick by a mile.
Yeah. There's an island joke there. We're not going to make it.
And then and then there's Tim Hardaway Jr. and Grant Williams next for me. And then the final tier is going to be Josh Green.
Yeah, I switched. I have more Josh Green than you do. I have Josh Green above Grant Williams.
Okay.
I think there's way more solidity. Solidity? That's not a word. It's more solidification. His minutes are more solid. There you go. Than Grant Williams.
I don't know that I totally agree with. I mean, I think both of them have pretty solid minutes for tonight.
I think Grant Williams has lower minutes floor than Josh Green does.
Either way, I like both of them as DFS.
How many times has Grant Williams just randomly played 26, 28 minutes? And I know he's had some foul trouble in the middle of stuff. He got ejected in the one game where I could just throw up because I was able to swap onto him at like 3%. He plays 11 minutes, gets ejected after a good first rotation in that first quarter, and then gets 3 fouls, and then goes nuclear over the weekend when I didn't play DFS. So that was enjoyable.
Yeah, I mean, it also depends what you mean by whose minutes are more solidified as well, because it's like who's safer to play 30 plus minutes. It's going to be Green, especially when you consider that there's more foul risk that's involved with Grant Williams than there is with Josh Green. But there's other things involved that are just beyond who is safer minutes.
Correct. But I mean, they have comparable fantasy point per minute rates. They have comparable positions, but you get extra position for Josh Green. You get to reduce a lot of ownership. So yeah, I have more Josh Green right now.
Next super chat we have here is from True Rages. He wants to know, who are we locking in for DK cash games? All right, so the players you should absolutely be locking in: Jaden Hardy.
Done.
Kawhi Leonard.
Done.
Tim Hardaway Jr.
Done.
Jamal Murray, James Harden, DeAndre Jordan. And honestly, there are other players I could tell you should lock into, but I don't want to. There's 75% of your lineup for you.
Yeah, if you just hit like anything, you should be able to build the cash. This should be one of the easiest cash building days that there has ever been in a million years.
Next question here is from Sam Van Dam. He says, Lillard over under 25.5 points because it is a Portland revenge game for Damian Lillard. 25.5 points over under. Which side of that do you lean for Mr. Damian Lillard, Eric?
Way over. I'm very much on the Dame is going to get all the usage and all the land. They should be able to just roll them. They're 10-point favorites. This feels like this could be like the turning point for Milwaukee if they can just go out and play a normal basketball game and give Dame everything that he wants here. Again, I'm not a narrative-based bettor unless your father got released from prison the day before or something of that nature, because, I just don't believe them. But this is one that I think I could see some extra usage going the way of my guy.
I view the line as being about fair. If I had to take a side, I'll lean with the over. If you want my honest opinion, I would say stay away from it. But Sam seems like he really does want to bet it. So if you have to take a side, I'll lean with the over here for
40 incoming.
GQ1 NYC. Eric, I was with you on the Embiid ride. Question: if Zion gets ruled out tonight, how does that factor into using Denver Dallas players?
You're going to want to get there. Like that's how it factors in. Right off the bat, you look at the fantasy point per minute rates, you take Zion off the floor, and you have guys like Jonas Valanciunas, 1.23, Brandon Ingram, 1.15, CJ McCollum, 1.14. And then it just naturally is going to be something where there's more usage, more rebounds, more everything to go around. I'm just finishing my query here. You have 1.25 for Brandon Ingram per minute, 1.21 for CJ McCollum. That is such a noticeable difference for both. You saw CJ McCollum fall down below 7K here too. I don't want to give away the nuke of the night, but yeah, it definitely comes from this team.
So that you don't have to give it away. Let's just do the nuke of the night. Then you don't have to dance. You don't have to pussyfoot around it. You just go ahead and you give. Well, that's an actual saying that people use. All right, let's watch your penis.
You didn't have to.
Boom. All right, nuke of the night time, Eric. And here we go. Eric's been trying to pussyfoot around it a little bit. He doesn't want to spoil it here. So now it's time, Eric. Who's the nuke of the night?
Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram is the guy. I liked him going into this slate as a contrarian option. I've brought this up multiple times, but in 2024, you have had 14 games for the Pelicans. They've had a grand total of two of them decided by single digits. What has this done? One, it's kept everybody's salary in check because these blowouts have reduced a lot of these minutes for the starters. And so however DK's algorithm, FanDuel's algorithm, whatever you're looking at, it's keeping these salaries in check in a spot where I constantly end up over the field on Ingram, McCollum, Zion, and all of these spots. Now, Zion, if he ends up sitting here, I mean, then you're talking about like apocalyptic set it all off Brandon Ingram nuke. I want that news to come out as late as humanly possible. I don't want people swapping into 6,900 CJ McCollum as well. I called it in my article today, co-nukes of the night in Ingram and McCollum, and that was before we got the Zion Williamson news because I thought I was going to end up in double digits on both of them. I will definitely end up on double digits here. 1.25, the best fantasy point per minute rate, absent Zion Williamson on the floor. That is Brandon Ingram, your nuke of the night.
Are you doing anything to reserve lineup spots or make any kind of accommodations to make sure that you're available to make swaps off Zion?
I just have to be available in life. I have to just sit here on my, not as fat as it was before ass, and I have to just literally swap into these guys as much as humanly possible. I have Dallas exposure. You have Dallas exposure. Everybody has Denver exposure. That is at the same time. Now, obviously, you have salary constraints, and now we have Clippers with Paul George out, but I'm pre-baking in 15, 20% of CJ McCollum. I'm pre-baking in more Brandon Ingram, it would appear.
The reason I don't have to change too much about my lineups, and if you tell me right now, does Zion play or sit? I'm going to say I think he's more likely to sit than play. And that seems to be the side of the fence you come on as well. Here's the good news, though. There is so much in our lineups that should already be us getting a bunch of exposure to the Dallas Mavericks. We should be getting a lot of exposure to the Denver Nuggets. And these are games that are locking at the same time as that New Orleans Pelicans game. So I don't have to do anything. I know that we're probably going to be getting questions like, hey, who do I? Oh, Zion was just ruled out, by the way. So
I literally just said that. You don't ever listen to me anymore. Herb Jones out too. Herb Jones. Herb Jones. Who?
All right. So I was in the middle of updating my lineups. And for what purpose? I'm going to have to update it all again in a second here. So I'll just give out my nuke of the night. Anyway, we didn't have to make any kind of accommodations for anything before lock because Zion and Herb Jones both out here. For me, it's going to be Victor Wembanyama as my nuke of the night. I've been overweight to Wemby on, I think, every single slate the Spurs have played on for the last 3 weeks or something like that. The playing time on the rise for Victor Wembanyama. His price tag also on the rise. Not enough, though. Even on FanDuel, they've got him right around that 10K mark. DraftKings is out to 9,200. Wemby, by the end of the year, is going to be one of the most expensive players on every single slate, especially as we're seeing this minutes restriction now where we're getting like 30 minutes out of him pretty regularly now. 28 at a minimum is what we've been seeing out of Wembanyama. He's a stud for fantasy purposes. He's a stud for real life too. And week over week, game by game, he is rapidly improving. We're seeing the efficiency come around as well. Now we've got Keldon Johnson out for the Spurs. Wemby was going to be my nuke of the night either way, but now just more reason to like him even more with Keldon Johnson being out. Our projection on him is now at nearly 55 fantasy points, 54 and change here on Wemby. And he's projected for ownership, but it's around 20%. It's not like we're looking at this guy's a massive chalk option. Victor Wembanyama, nuke of the night for me. Should be chalky, but not quite as chalky as he should be. Zion's out. Do you have anything else to add to it? I mean, it was kind of incorporated into your nuke of the night already.
Nope, it was beautiful. I mean, you just started listing off all the same things that I had said previously there, but it is what it is. I got to then say Herb Jones, which made me feel good because 281-330-8004 feels good.
Herb Jones, close relative to Mike Jones. People don't know that.
That's why I got to inform them.
Next super chat here is
what?
Ian Allward, he wants Sean V's nuke of the night. I'm going to assume it's.
Wait, where's Lee's nuke of the night? Where's Lee when we? Well, I know he's fixing the projections right now, but he's probably done by now. Lee, who's your nuke of the night? What?
Yeah, I just pushed. So I mean, it's now going to be Najee Marshall, right? Like
Najee, that's your boy. Najee is your boy.
Yeah, I mean, Najee kind of failed last time that he was out, but like they were able to play a little bit smaller with Herb Jones playing the 4. Well, guess who's out also now?
Herb Jones.
Now they don't have a choice. So now they don't have a choice. They have to play Najee Marshall. So I'm going to be getting to a shit ton of him probably.
Love it.
Projections updated from Lee. Jordan, if you wouldn't mind throwing those up on the screen right now, we could go ahead and look at what some of these updated projections are for the Pelicans, which the high watermark, it is Brandon Ingram, who's now projected for 42.11 fantasy points at a 7,500 price tag. Damn right that somebody you want to be playing today. CJ McCollum's at 37.23. Yeah, somebody else you're also going to want to be playing today. And then as far as the cheap options, Trey Murphy, he's looking like a decent enough value. Jordan Hawkins in play. Najee Marshall, there are a bunch of players. Dyson Daniels, another one.
Jordan Hawkins dance
from the New
my
Orleans.
khaki pants. It's nothing better.
I have no clue what this reference is.
Well, are you kidding me? Sadie's Hawkins dance? You don't know that song?
Legitimately never heard it in my life until right now.
Lee, have you heard of Sadie Hawkins dance? In my khaki pants? There's nothing better?
Nope. You're gonna be on your own on this one.
All right, thanks. Thanks, Lee.
Let's bring in Jordan, who's the youngest of us. Do you know what it is, Jordan? All right, there we go. All right, so you guys are the...
This is why Jordan Klein's he's my favorite producer named Jordan Klein I've ever had.
And I'll answer for Sean V. Sean V's nuke of the night is going to be Damian Lillard because he used to play for the Portland Trailblazers.
Not on the main slate. So thanks a lot, Sean, for your great addition.
Another reason why Damian Lillard is his nuke of the night.
Yeah, next, just like he made $0 off Aaron Nesmith yesterday. So congrats, Sean.
We're at 14. Said thoughts on Grant Williams tonight, him or somebody else for DK. So let's see. What's the price point on Grant Williams? Grant Williams is about to fall out of some lineups for me now that we've updated.
For sure. Stuff. For sure. Najee, give me all Najee before you make me play Grant Williams. This dude, I mean, no. Bad, Eric. No. Just give me Najee.
I mean, there's a big... So if I'm not leaving $1,000 on the table to play Najee Marshall instead of Grant Williams, but go cheaper than Grant Williams now and upgrade another spot in your lineup.
Right. Correct.
Next super chat here. This one is from Jeremy Doyle. He wants to know, who is the Sean V play of the game? Everyone wants to know who Sean V is playing now.
Is that the player that he would fake roster the most because he's not playing DFS?
It's going to be somebody with the narrative attached to them in some kind of way.
I would love for Sean to just prove me wrong and post a screenshot one time and have him in the Stochastic Hall of Fame and just put his jersey up in the rafters. But I don't think that day's ever going to come, sadly.
So I'm a big Sean V defender, right? I'm a big fan of Sean. We have positive interactions on Twitter.
Joke of a human.
I believe that he is treated unfairly by yourself and Josh Engleman.
Yeah.
And while you're making fun of people for narratives, Eric, correct me if I'm wrong, but you did not play Christian Wood because he tweeted LOL last night.
Yeah, you know what? You know who fucking beat him? You know who beat him? Straight up. $600 less. Yeah, Jackson Hayes. So I could then have my other center spot reserved for Joel Embiid.
There we go. Team Sean V in my book. Jeremy Doyle, who's the Sean V play of the game? Of which game, though, also? Because I don't even know which game he's talking about. But then he says, didn't Socan's third cousin used to play pickup games in Orlando? Thanks for all the last, you guys, and for all the advice. There we go. So, all right, incredible. Jeremy Doyle is dropping his Sean V play of the game, and he's going with Jeremy
Doyle rules.
His third cousin used to play pickup games in Orlando. All right, that's a good angle there, Jeremy. I like it. I think that's very clever.
Have you ever seen Book of Mormon?
I want to. I haven't, though.
You have to go see it. I will get you tickets. You have to go to Book of Mormon.
How much?
See Orlando, SeaWorld, and Disney.
How much money do I have to make for them to just come to my house and perform?
More than you got.
Fuck. All right, sorry. I'll work on that then. I'll work on that.
You got to go to the city. You got to do what I did. I got on the New Jersey Transit. I'm an adult. I adulted.
So here's the problem is that I'm winning NBA GPPs this year. I need to get that Steve Buzzard money and win those Millie makers. Then I could get the
Millie maker that you have so much money that you're not even sweating and your son is playing with your phone on the video games. That was the best part of the story. He responded because I was like, hey, congratulations, Steve. So happy. He's like, hey, I didn't even get to sweat it. Didn't even get to watch the kneel down. I'm like, good, because you would have had a heart attack. I would have.
Yeah. I was watching that also. I was like, did he actually just kneel down for like 6 yards back? Because Steve won the Millie Maker by 1/10 of a fantasy point last week using the stochastic Sims tool in the contest trainer. If you guys want to sign up for any of our Sims packages, use the links that we have below. Or if you want to sign up for the lineup generator package, which also gets you access to our Discord channel, sign up using the link below. But yeah, I was I think I was also sweating Steve's win more than Steve was, and he won $1 million.
Correct. And he was just chilling on the couch watching the game, which is incredible. Again, just incredible.
Shout out to Chris Williams for gifting out 5 YouTube memberships. We always appreciate you, Chris. Thank you very much for the support. And then Peyton Brunn asked, just left a super chat. No question. Let's see if there's a question from Peyton in Discord that I could find.
Dude, there's too many damn good plays on today's slate.
There's a lot.
Apparently, Muscala starting at the 4.
So I was thinking about that earlier. I thought I had Muscala in his starter because they were talking about doing that for Detroit. And I was like, no, but then I went back through and Muscala was the guy that they were talking about having started. And it's wild, but like, okay, 20 minutes of him. Is that enough?
Oh, I'm going to give him 25, I think.
Well, then shit. Then we are going to get to him.
If he's starting. Yeah, he's still kind of thin even on DraftKings given today's slate. So.
The other problem too with Muscala, and I mean, I'm perpetually updating everything, all my stuff, is he's also center only eligible. If he was power forward center, I would be getting to him in more lineups. So once I update everything, I assume I'll be getting to some of Mike Muscala, but him being center only eligible is definitely a little bit of a handicap in terms of there's so many guys to get to on the slate, like Eric had mentioned.
Yeah.
By the way, if you meant to leave us a question, Peyton, just throw it into the YouTube chat so I could answer. I like Najee Marshall a good amount. Go with Najee Marshall. Najee Marshall it is. Next question is from Toasted Biscuits. Any love for Lou Dort? No. If SGA was out, if SGA and Chet Holmgren were out, Lou Dort is somebody who I could have potentially considered, but there's so much value. Lou Dort's thin.
Yeah, no, not anymore. You can't play guys. Well, I mean, watch Lou Dort go out and get 6 stocks, knock down 5 threes, and just whatever. But it is definitely probably a no-go for me.
Next question here is from Sam Van Dam. Sorry, one more time. Thoughts on Muscala starting? Puts him in play. He wasn't in play before. He is now, but not going to be somebody who I'm loading up on because he's center only eligible.
Yeah. 25 minutes. Yeah, that's, oh boy. I'm a little bit nervous about rerunning this here right now and just seeing how much Muscala I'd get to, but it is news that broke late. There's tons of value already. I'm very curious how much people get there. And Lee, what are we doing here? He's 3K flat.
Yeah, don't go there. I just think it's like a don't go there sort of situation.
That's
like,
what I was hoping.
Again, he's center. How much does he have to do to beat DJ today? Right?
He's got to do what he did that one game where he just started out of nowhere. And Greg and I both, this was like a year or two ago, we're like, no, we're not going to play Mike Muscala. And he started and hit like 5 threes to start the game. And yeah, you needed Mike Muscala that day.
He is 2 years older now.
He's a little bit wiser, if some would say.
We got a super chat from Justin Young, and all he wanted to say is, I paid money to let Eric know that Sadie Hawkins dance is garbage music.
Sadie Hawkins dance, you absolute.
All right, what the hell?
Dunce cap. Wow.
I'm old. Look, I'm old. I'm not trying to learn new things about pop culture. It doesn't matter to me.
Do you know what Sadie Hawkins dance is? It's a dance where the girls invite the guys. So obviously you've never been.
What is it? what is it? I'll look it up later. I don't know. I'm not into cool things. If it's something that doesn't take place in my living room, I'm probably not going to know what it is. Good chance of it. Let's see what we have next as far as the questions are concerned. Here we got another super chat from Chris Albers. Over under 13.5 points for Nick Richards.
Close. Nick Richards, we got him for 32.7. He was in my optimal earlier today.
I'm going to go over. Do you have an answer?
Over.
All right, there we go.
Under.
Over for myself, over from Eric.
Under. Oh, Lee coming in under. I like that. There we are.
James Magruder, best 4,600 or less for utility. Can't be Hardy or DeAndre Jordan. Let's see.
4K and under?
4,600 or under for utility.
Oh, who's the 4,600 guy that I had tons of earlier in the day? I'm sure I have a million here. I'm just Norman Powell for sure. Nope, Io for me. I lied. Ayo.
It's so my best answer for this is going to be somebody who's priced well below that.
Okay, then go ahead.
I'm going to say Najee Marshall. And then just upgrade another spot. That's going to be my answer.
Sounds great.
Riley Cooper, 14, Jamal Murray or CJ McCollum. I prefer Jamal Murray to CJ McCollum. I like both of them, but if it's just 1v1, give me Jamal Murray.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Next question here is from Brandon Victor. Top 5 at each. Oh my God. Top 5 at each position on FanDuel. What a top 5 at every single position. I'll give you my favorite ones at each position, but top 5 would take up the rest of the show here. Let's see. Top guys at each position on FanDuel. I'll go top 2.
Go ahead.
All right. There's a good compromise. Top 2 for me at each position on FanDuel. James Harden and Jamal Murray at point guard. At shooting guard will also be James Harden, but I'll throw in Josh Green and Jaden Hardy. At small forward, I'm going to go with Kawhi Leonard and Brandon Ingram. Power forward, PJ Washington and Aaron Gordon. And then center, DeAndre Jordan and Victor Wembanyama. So
Colin Richardson, that's one of the funniest things that I've read in chat. We're not going to read it, but like that's fantastic, especially because it's Reliant K, where I think one song by them, it's like Who I Am Hates Who I've Been. That's like the only song I know from Reliant K. And I got to say, the fact that you pulled that off, congratulations.
Yeah, once again, I don't know any of these references, don't know any of these people you guys are talking about.
So annoying.
If there's somebody under the age of like 40 at this point, if it's a new person, I don't know who they are, and I never will know, and I don't give a shit.
You're so fun. You must be fun at parties.
I am. I am a tremendous amount of fun. I just don't know who's made the latest dance song.
It's chill.
Next question here is from let's see. R Gravy. DK utility 3,200 or less, already have Marshall, or downgrade Wemby to Miles Bridges and get somebody at 4,200. 3,200 utility. Is there anybody else you like there?
No, there's not. Mike Muscala is viable now, but I'm not going to play him.
Let's see. 3,200.
Come on, Sim. Let's go.
There's
10 minutes remaining in the period. 10 minutes remaining in the period.
Oh, if it's 3,200, if last man in, you could play Mike Muscala. I don't love Mike Muscala, but if you're looking to punt there, you could rock.
You're really not listening to me today. I just said that.
But I'm giving my answer.
Oh my God.
I said I don't like anybody.
You're killing me. You don't know.
Great Guardians 9K. Greg, can we see your t-shirt? Yes. This is an Ohio State shirt and it has a Ninja Turtles on it because my
pretty
sister
sick.
goes to Ohio State.
Now we're getting along again. That's fine.
It's a fucking sick shirt because the Ninja Turtles came out in the 90s, so that's more my jam.
Turtles in a house shell, turtle power.
Ben P, top 4 are guys to ROI boost in the Sims and how much? You don't have to boost anybody. We've got the most important news that we already have.
Yep.
Next question, James Magruder. Greg, I already have Najee Marshall, the last super chat. Let's see. What was the last super chat? Okay. Best 4,600 or less for utility. Okay. He already has Najee Marshall in there. Who did you answer for this one again, Eric?
Najee Marshall. He already has Najee Marshall. 3,200. I said Mike Muscala earlier. 4,600 it was. I said Io.
I'll agree with you. Io it is.
Thank you.
Io it is. Next super chat for Matty Ice. He wants to know, how do we feel about Coffee starting with Paul George out?
So he could play 35 minutes, and I wouldn't feel like I missed out on anything today.
He's a very shitty points per minute fantasy producer.
Horrendous. So normally we've seen scenarios where Kawhi sits, and then you see Amir Coffey step into this massive amount of minutes, because you just go through the box score. You can see pretty much exactly when those times are. Amir Coffey, he had 31, 33, 39 minutes there against Dallas. And that was the one that you saw, no Kawhi. And yeah, without Paul George here, I know that it's Washington. I know he's $3,400, but your lineup spot is more valuable than clicking on Amir Coffey's 0.55 DraftKings points per minute rate today. Your lineup spot alone, like, I got to think, no matter where you're at, no matter what play you're playing, if they're 3K, 4K, they need to be going for 30. Like, I can't play Amir Coffey today.
If this was a slate that didn't have a million players out, and it wasn't a 9-game slate, then Amir Coffey comes in, but not needed. Like Eric said, just not the best fantasy producer. Chris Williams, not sure if my first super chat got through, but who are the best cheaper plays for DK Showdown? Yeah, so I assume you mean for the late one tonight, Chris. Let's see. I do have lineups built out here.
Dude, it is wild what my lineups look like now. This is insane.
All right. Showdown. All right, so I built out lineups for Milwaukee-Portland Showdown here. And assuming that is what you're talking about, Chris, I have as the cheap options of getting the most of Jay Crowder, Pat Connaughton, and Cam Payne. Those are the 3 cheap guys I got the most of for that one. Alex Kaiser, DK single entry, last piece, 5,300 or under.
Kaiser Sose. 5,300 or under. I feel like that's going to be like no man's land. It really is. It really, really is. I would not be building anything with somebody 5,300. Closest I would have is Spencer Dinwiddie, because there could always be the random, hey, 32 minutes, 33 minutes, and that'd be enough for me today.
All right, 53. Who's the guy for me? 53. If he had 100 more, it would pretty easily be Aaron Gordon.
Yep.
But we don't have that. That's why salary caps exist.
That is a thing. Yes, correct.
Cam Johnson for me.
Oh, gross. How'd that feel coming out of your mouth?
Phrasing. So there's a lot of there's a lot of players around that price range who I don't like, but I think are okay. Right? If you had Cam Johnson a lineup as the last man, and if you had Spencer Dinwiddie as the last man in, not going to feel great about it, but they're okay. The guy I'm going to answer there is going to be Cam Johnson. Next super chat is from Corey Bomber, 7K DK utility last man. All right, let's look at 7K.
I got to get these lineups in. I'm just uploading something because this is painful.
I could answer questions while my lineup.
Yeah, go ahead.
The answer is Rudy Gobert for me.
Okay.
Corey Bomber, Rudy Gobert.
And then I'll take over the last 2 minutes.
No. I'm saying that I could do this while you do your lineups right now.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So now I'm going to try to answer as many of these questions as quickly as good. A lot of questions. So I appreciate all the support, guys.
You're
trying
the
to
best.
get to as many of these as we can now, going into the Discord questions. This one here is from JEW. Peyton Watson or get different with Lonnie Walker for a DK single entry. I prefer Peyton Watson to Lonnie Walker. We've got Draft Keem asking for a favorite DK single entry play. That is Wemby for me. Eric B. Just curious why stochastic personalities continue to say that they have players projected for more or less points than we do. Yeah, so every once in a while, we'll make alterations to our project. Not every single person has to have the exact same opinion on every single player. There's nothing wrong with me looking at the projection, say like, hey, I might think this player, I might want to give somebody 2 extra minutes or something like that. Not everybody's going to have the exact same opinion on every single player.
We all get these incredible Fender guitars. That's the projections. And everybody's going to play it a little bit differently.
Good way to think about it. Good way to think. I don't know what a Fender guitar is, but Is it different from a normal guitar?
I'm shocked after today with the amount of music knowledge you have that you wouldn't know that.
No, I no clue.
It's like an amazing Stratocaster that, you know, it was played by Jimi Hendrix or something. And that is what we get with our projections team. The best in the business. Nothing sounds like it. Nothing plays like it. But you can also have different styles of which you play.
There we go. Well said. I apologize for not understanding the analogy, but I don't know most things, Eric. I only know I'm very concentrated. I know like comedy really well. I know DFS. That's about it. I am somewhere on the spectrum. I don't have very great interpersonal skills sometimes, but I know the things I know. I know the things I know. Next question that we have in here is from, where is it? Cream wants to know if there's anybody that I'm doing an ROI boost to. So it's very frequent that I do ROI boosts, but mentioned earlier, this is not a slate where I feel like I really had to, because we already have the lineup news. When I'm doing ROI boosts, it's to account for certain players where are on the injury report, and I want to make sure I'm giving my lineups flexibility. We've got the news we needed. We've got Jokic already ruled out. We know SGA is in. We've got Paul George out. We've got Zion out. So there's nothing I'm going out of my way to change my lineups for as far as the ROI boosts are concerned. Rico Rod, top FanDuel single entry plays by position. Point guard, James Harden. I'll go point guard, Jamal Murray. Shooting guard, James Harden. Small forward, Kawhi Leonard. Power forward, PJ Washington. Center, DeAndre Jordan for me. Iron Maiden, 2 top 3 sub 5K plays for utility. Yes. So sub 5K plays for utility. All right. I've got my lineups all set, by the way, Eric.
Yep, me too. Just got them done.
Sub 5K plays, Jaden Hardy, DeAndre Jordan, and Dyson Daniels for me. Those are the 3 sub 5K guys I ended up with the most exposure to. Dominic Cubano, late to the party, but are we jamming Najee Marshall? Yeah, I think Najee Marshall's a very good punt play today. I like it in Najee Marshall.
Me too.
D Money wanted to know about Lou Dort. Yes, we touched on that before. Lou Dort, not somebody who I am really, let's see, what did I end up with my final exposure for Lou Dort? Yeah, I don't have Dort in any of my lineups, so don't like him.
Yeah.
We've got Crooked Samaritan. Any reason to late swap today? Yeah, if players get ruled out.
That would be a good idea.
So it's
or
not
if
like
we get some weird starting lineup from the Pelicans, which is very, very live to happen.
It's not like I go into the line. It's not like I go into the slate and go like, hey, I'm going to late swap at 7:15. I'm going to late swap at 7:26. It's as news breaks, or if we get projections update, ownership changes, that's when I go ahead and make updates. It's not just me willy-nilly going like, feel like late swapping right now. That's not really what I'm doing. Also, things wouldn't really change if nothing changed as far as news goes. Luista 11. Luista 11 is asking Brandon Miller, Tim Hardaway Jr. is the last man in. Hardaway, Madub T, Muscala, or DeAndre Jordan. Dickie D wants to know, is Jonas Valanciunas in play? Yes, but not somebody I'm getting a ton of. JEW, Hardy. Oh boy, this is a 2v2v2. Hardy, Murphy, anything with Hardy, the answer is going to be Hardy. Hef Love, Cam Thomas, and Şengün, or Kawhi and Brandon Miller. That's Kawhi and Brandon Miller for me. And we have reached lock. So we had a bunch of questions that came in. I wish I could get to all these. I really tried to, but there was like 10 questions that came in 5 minutes leading up to lock. So a little hard to get to all of those, but I'm going to be hanging out in Discord, guys, for the next couple of hours. So I will circle back on all those questions, try to answer everything that we possibly can. If you guys want to sign up for a Stochastic membership and come hang out with Lee and myself in Discord tonight, Lee updates projections. We tell everybody how it's going to change our lineups. Sign up for a Stochastic membership using one of the links below and come hang out with us in Discord. For everybody else, thank you very much for watching. Like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Good luck. Catch you back here tomorrow.